Hello, everyone. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we're going to have Glenn. Glenn is from Australia, but he lives in India. So let's see what Glenn has to say. Enjoy the interview. So, hello, Glenn. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. I'm good. I tried to go and have a shave before coming on, but my barber was full. So it's one of those luxuries because in the West, I mean, you can't afford shaves. So in India, it's one of those luxuries I indulge in constantly.
So, tell me, how's your day going so far, Glenn?
Good. I'm selling some workshops at the moment, so it's all about hustling and trying to get students to sign up. And I also during lockdown I taught myself how to build websites, so I'm just having a little tinker on my website as well. And my housemate is actually having a party, which is just starting next door
Oh, wow.
in the
You can
hall.
feel.
Otherwise we'd be in a much better environment. But we're locked away in my bedroom because there's about 15 people in the other room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Amazing. So,
yeah.
tell me where are you from, Glenn?
I'm originally from Perth, Western Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And when I graduated, I moved out of Perth. So I lived in Melbourne for 10 years, Sydney for 5 years, Adelaide for 10 years, back and forward to Perth and the eastern states. And then 2014, I came to Mumbai and stayed.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yeah,
Fun
yeah.
enough, I just had a lovely man from Perth not long ago. West
Yes,
Australia.
yes, I think I watched some of it. Yeah, yeah. I've watched three or four of your interviews. I've been looking forward to seeing you dance.
Oh, yes, a lovely man, lovely. It was very emotional. It was
Yeah,
great.
no.
Um, so why the change from Australia to India?
Look, by accident, really. I'd never thought about India at all. I never even thought about coming here for a holiday. But in 2009, I was invited to bring one of my plays to a festival in India and fell in love with it basically. And then in 2014, my job finished. I was AD of a company, and I came back to India to direct a play and decided I'd base myself here for a few years, and that was nearly 10 years ago.
Oh,
So
wow. Oh,
yeah, it's been a bit of an adventure, and it's been quite a philosophical journey as well, which has been really lovely and a very human experience.
so tell me what's the best part of waking up in India every single morning?
The best part of waking up in India, oh gosh, the chai, going for my chai in the morning, my tea.
Oh,
Um, Look, I mean, every day, as a foreigner, every day is an adventure in India. It really is. I think for anybody in a foreign country, as you'd experience as well, when it's not in your DNA, it's you're always the other, and I quite like that. It's one of the reasons why I really loved being here is that I'm one person amongst 27 million people in one city. And
wow.
yeah, I mean, so the entire population of Australia fits into Mumbai alone.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, it's a mind blow. It really is a mind blow. And I've really enjoyed the adventure of that and continue to. Yeah, it's and I turned 50 here and now I've turned 60 here. So it's been quite an important part of my life being here. And now I have a partner here, and yeah, so it's all been quite a mind blowing and wonderful adventure. Yeah.
Amazing. As you
Hmm.
already touched a little bit about your career, and I could see in your profile it says 40 years in the arts industry. So
Yeah.
walk me through a little bit about your career so far.
Sorry, what was what? Sorry.
So walk me through a little bit about your career, how everything
Oh
started.
gosh. So I trained as an actor at a place called the West Australian Academy of Performing Arts. And that's where people like Hugh Jackman trained and Fran O'Connor and lots of wonderful people. So I was a working actor for 10 years, and then I was invited to direct a play for the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, and I'd never directed before. And on the first day of rehearsal, I just felt like I was creatively at home as a director. And so then I put myself back into training and through working, and I was associate artist with some fantastic companies. And then by 96, I performed for the last time. and I've just been director now. And then I moved on to being like festivals director and artistic director for companies and reaching CEO level, and yeah, and a lot of teaching along the way. I love teaching. I think it's an elder's job to pass on knowledge and experience, and I really enjoy working with young, hungry actors and giving them the training, but also giving them the reality kick that they need as well. It's a difficult industry, very difficult industry. I always say to my students, there's a difference between being a working artist and being famous. And if you aim to be famous, you've probably got that much chance. If you aim to be a working artist, you've got that much chance. So yeah, so that's been pretty cool. So yeah, then I ended up here, and the adventure continues. I still feel like I'm about 35 in my head. So
Great.
I keep thinking, I wonder when I'm going to grow up and get a real job.
Never grow up. Never grow up. Keep this
No.
child in your spirits always. I think that's the
Yeah.
beauty of life. That's the beauty.
Look, I think it is. Yeah.
personality.
And
Yeah,
I think I mean, certainly when you stick to this industry, you learn resilience. And I think I'm quite a resilient person, and I never really feel like I'm knocked down. When we don't get something we want, it usually means there's another opportunity knocking, and you just have to be aware of that. I'm a great believer in the peripheral vision. The target might be there, but the opportunity is actually at the sides.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Glenn. So during the journey, I'm going to explore a little bit more about your career so far and also about your journey. Okay?
Yeah.
Are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories of life?
I'm absolutely ready to go on a beautiful, joyous ride.
Amazing. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So, this is my best friend, full of random fun questions. I'm just gonna play a song now just for us to relax a bit before the first question, okay?
Okay.
Let's do it. Right, Glenn. So before we start the game, during the join, if it comes up a question that you don't want to talk about, some reason you don't want to answer, always can change, okay?
Yep, sure. I'll let you know.
Right, first question for you is, easy question. Describe yourself in one positive word and one negative word only.
Okay, my positive would be resilient, and my negative would be immature.
Tell me about it.
The positive or the negative?
Both.
Look, I think as I was saying before, I think in this industry you have to build a lot of resilience. For every yes, there's about 100 no's, especially when you're starting out and when you're young in the arts. So you do build resilience, and I never really feel like I'm knocked down. I usually plateau at okay, what's next, rather than oh my God, I'm never going to get what I want. Getting what you want, I think, can be a misguided positive, if you like, because often what you want isn't actually what you need, or what will be best for you, and better than what you wanted. I think the negative, immature. I think I am quite immature in a lot of ways, mainly because I've never had kids. I've never had to sort of be responsible in that way. I've never had to think about, oh my God, I need to educate my children. I need to make sure they've got a great home to live in or whatever. So when I say immature, I think it's mainly through that not needing to have the responsibilities of looking after somebody that I've chosen to come into the world. I think if you choose to have a child, then yes, your whole life is about that child, because you've chosen. They didn't choose to be born. You chose to have them. So yeah, so in that sense, that's what I mean by immature. I think I'm very, very mature in many other ways. But yeah, I mean, my whole life fits into 2 suitcases basically. So I can pack up very, very easily and move on, and I basically go where I want to go. My career has always been my first relationship, and will always remain my first relationship. It's my prime relationship.
Right.
And if other people want to come on that journey with me, then that's fantastic. And if they don't, well, that's fine as well. So yeah.
What's your star sign, astrology?
Sagittarius.
Interesting. You know, the Sagittarius, they have the biggest heart compared with the other star signs in astrology. Did you know that?
I don't know a lot about astrology.
Yeah,
I think I'm a spiritual person, but I'm not a believer in things like Bibles and astrologies and
interesting.
yeah,
Good.
yeah. Apparently, Sagittarians are either priests or actors. So
Interesting that
yeah.
my first partner, my first boyfriend was Sagittarius, and my
Okay.
second star sign is Sagittarius. My first one is Scorpio. My second one is Sagittarius. So
Okay, there you go. I was with a Scorpio for 5 years as well.
there you
Yeah.
go. There connection there. There's some connection.
Yeah, possibly.
Next question. Right. Next question is,
Yeah.
what's your favorite holiday season of the year?
If I'm in Australia, Easter. If I'm not in Australia, I really enjoy Ramadan in India because the food that hits the streets is extraordinary. Yeah, but Easter, Easter is the time I miss Australia the most. It's like Christmas without the pressure. You know?
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, it's very chill. My family's very chilled at Easter, and that's what I miss my family and friends most is Easter time.
Tell me what's when you look back in Australia, you know, celebrating Easter. Tell me Easter celebration that you're never gonna forget. That for you always gonna have that special place in your heart.
Well, in actual fact, it's a Christmas, which has a very special place in my heart. When I was living in Melbourne, there was about 5 households, and we were all what we called orphans. So we were all living away from our family homes. And so every year for Christmas, we would get together and share Christmas. So whoever was hosting would do the baking, the meat, and we would divvy up which household was bringing what. And they were really, really awesome and very, very special Christmases, about 5 of them. And again, there was no pressure of ownership of Christmas. It was very, very chilled, and we'd all have a good drunken game of cricket after lunch. And yeah, it was lovely. But I can't think of a specific Easter that I loved. We used to, in my 20s, we used to go away as a family to a place called Fairbridge Farm in Western Australia, and it was these beautiful cottages, and all the children of the family were very, very young, and so they would all get out there and play in the dirt, and we would all sit around and drink lovely wines.
Which person in your family you are more close to?
Which person? My mother.
Yeah.
My mother and I are very, very close. I was the third of 3 children, and the only boy. And I think by the time I came along, my mother had done all the parenting she wanted to do, so she sort of left me alone a bit. But I think that actually made us very close because I grew up having a very sort of adult relationship with my mother. And we're quite similar. We're very similar in physically and spiritually, I suppose. We're quite clever. Clever. That was Freudian. Quite similar. Things like, at Christmas time, Mum and I would sit up, most of the night wrapping the presents and just talk. Even when I was really young, and just talk about the year and how things are going and all that kind of stuff. And she's always been incredibly supportive of me as an artist. Yeah, she grew up in a period in Australia where she had to leave school at 14, had to get a job, had to start looking for a husband, all that kind of thing, and she actually wanted to be an accountant. She loves math, and so all of her kids, whatever we wanted to do, if we showed the passion and the hard work, then she supported it. And when I came out, I can remember when I was 15, I told my mum that I was gay, and she just turned around and said, "Yeah, I know."
Of course.
And I was like, "No, come on, I need an argument. I've been building up for this for 6 months to a year. We need to have a big argument now, and you need to send me off to to church or whatever." Not that she was religious, but no, she's always been very, very supportive of my life, which has been really lovely.
What's her name?
Elizabeth.
Right. So Miss
Yeah.
Elizabeth is watching the interview right now, this moment, and you have the opportunity to send her a message, to say something to her. What would you say right now?
Look, and I said it to the other day. I told her that she was the best mother I could have possibly had. Yeah, which was great. She's 91 and she's not very well, and she's on that journey towards death at the moment, which she's very, very chilled about, by the way. So we talk about that quite a lot and have a bit of a laugh about it. And yeah, she's
Oh,
great, but her mind is still very, very sharp, and it's just the body that's starting to get old. I mean, it's just natural, you know.
oh,
So yeah, so there's no real sadness about her declining.
I
It's
see.
more it's more that we're celebrating her before she pops off,
Oh,
which is great.
sweet. Very
Yeah,
sweet.
it's good. Yeah, it's good. We've got her one of those little pendants that you push the button if you fall over. Because she's been falling over a lot, and you push the button and the ambulance comes.
I
But
see.
these new ones, they actually can talk to the person. It's like a little telephone. And
Wow.
she forgot to take it off when she went to bed, and she rolled over on it and pushed the button. And she woke up to this voice saying, "Elizabeth, Mrs. Hayden, Elizabeth," and she thought, "God, are you calling me?" You know?
Oh,
She's very
so
funny. So yeah,
sweet.
she's got her sense of humor, which is great.
Oh. Next question. Let's do
Mm.
it. Right, Glenn. So before the next question, tell me what's the biggest joy? What do you like the most of being an artist? What's the biggest, this butterflies feeling that you have when you are, doing your work?
Look, it's purely and simply telling good story. And even as a very young child, I just loved telling story. And when you create a piece of theatre that it resonates with the audience, and you can feel that the audience are accepting the story and they're moved by it, and they have questions afterwards and they want to talk about it after the show. Yes, it's just delivering great stories, and stories that are not often told. You know, I mean, great drama can come from very, very small stories. So
Hmm.
yeah, so it's telling stories is the best thing.
I see. All right.
Mm.
Right. Good question. What's the best and the worst of being yourself?
Oh gosh, this is a tough one. The best thing about being myself is that I'm pretty aware that I'm unique, as we all are. Well, I'll rephrase that. I'm aware that we are all unique, and I really accept that uniqueness. And I don't often try. I don't envy other people very much. I'm quite content with the fact that I am who I am, and I don't need to be anything else. And that's probably the best thing. The worst thing about me, well, I used to think it was that I procrastinated a lot, but then I read this fantastic article last week that procrastinators are close to genius.
I like that.
So yeah, yeah, they were actually not procrastinating. With, excuse me, I've had this horrible the Mumbai flu the last couple of weeks. Yeah, that when we procrastinate, we're actually mulling over the idea and coming to some conclusions. So yeah, it's not procrastination anymore. I think the worst thing about me is I tend to blame myself before I blame others.
Mm.
And I know that that's a little bit narcissistic, but yeah, I tend to look inward and see if there's any fault of mine before I look outward.
And why is that? Why do you tend to blame yourself first? Why is that?
Oh, look, I think it's partly childhood. I grew up with a father who wasn't a very nice person, and blamed me for a lot of things, and so I think you carry that on.
Hmm.
And I mean, but I think as much therapy that we do, we still carry our little demons every now and then, and in those weaker times, they pop up on the shoulder and whisper in the ear.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, look, I think it's those formative years are really, really important, and what we learn as a young child, I think we
Hmm.
carry through into our adult life, and we spend the rest of the time spending money trying to get over it.
It's interesting you say about this article about procrastination. The other day I saw somewhere somebody saying I was before I got to reach, I was too busy working. That's why I couldn't get to reach. I was like, that's interesting. I never heard that before.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't
I
it?
was too busy working, so that's why I never got to reach before. I was
Well,
like, oh,
there's that whole thing of, we spend all of our youth worrying about how we're going to survive as an old person, and we forget to be young.
that's true. That's
You
true. That's
know?
why never always keep your childish that you have. That sometimes
Yeah, exactly. And in
it's
Australia, there's this wonderful thing of they're called the skis, spend the kids' inheritance. You know, I think it's really, I love that idea of it. Gosh, if you make money or whatever, spend it on yourself. I mean, let your kids make their own money.
amazing. Next question.
Yeah.
Hey Glenn, next question is, I think this one's going to be very easy for you to answer. What did you want to be growing up?
What did I wanted to be a train driver?
Tell me about it.
Yes, the first house I lived in until I was about 5 years old, we lived opposite the railway track. And apparently, I don't really have very many core memories of this, but apparently every time the train came past, I would run out and wave. And
Oh,
apparently the train used to blow its horn, which was really lovely, So yeah, so when I was a very, very little boy, I used to want to be a train driver. And then I didn't know I really didn't know what I wanted to be during my primary school years. And it was when I was 14 that I discovered theatre and the arts and decided, yep, that's my life. And again, it was finding like a home. The first theatre experience I had as a young man, it just felt like I was home.
and growing up, did you have like some idols in the industry that you're like, oh my God, I'd like to be this or like this person? There was someone that you look up to?
There's many people that I look up to, but no, I've never actually idolized anyone, and I'm really glad about that.
Mhm.
I've never put that any individual in that unreachable place, and unrealistic place. But I mean, there's hundreds of people that I admire and respect, and generally, most people in the world wouldn't know who they were. They're not classically famous, but they're very good at their jobs. So the day I decided to be an actor, I was 14, and
Mhm.
I went to a theatre called the Octagon Theatre in Western Australia, and there was a production of Romeo and Juliet on, and Mel Gibson was playing Romeo. He was about 19 or 20. He just graduated from his training, and I sat there and thought, I can do better than that. And it was very arrogant of me at 14. And in retrospect, what I was actually thinking was, I can do that.
Wow.
Not necessarily I can do better, but that it unleashed the little cage of the actor saying, I relate to what's happening in front of me. I can do this. I can tell stories. I can be someone else. And from that day, I knew that I was going to be an actor.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Hmm.
3 questions left. Let's do it.
Oh, it's going so quickly.
Let's do
We
it.
need longer dancing, William.
Right. Before the next question, of course, you're talking about, you just mentioned that you never kind of had an idol or anything. But let's pretend that, okay, tomorrow you're going to start working on a project where you have the biggest budget, where you could pay anybody, like you can pay anybody to work with you. And you could choose a female and a male actor, actress that, to work in a project with you. You could
Yeah.
choose anyone. Who those two would be?
I would love to work with Andrew Scott. I think he's quite an extraordinary actor. So that would be my male. Female, I would really like to work with. There's a really lovely Australian actress who moved to England, Frances O'Connor. She was the mother in the film AI, the Spielberg film AI, and she was in a couple of Merchant Ivory films as well. And she's just such a beautiful, beautiful actress. And also, my best friend in the world, Sandra Eldridge, she's an Australian actress, and she's quite extraordinary as well.
Wow.
So, if I had a massive budget, I would love to give them the massive
Oh,
budget. But Andrew Scott would be an extraordinary actor to work with, I think. Actually, I do have one idol that I've had from my days at college, and that's Patrick Stewart,
wow.
um, who was Picard in Star Trek, but he's also a very beautifully classically trained Shakespearean actor. And I was actually in the theatre one evening in Melbourne in the audience, and he was in Melbourne filming Moby Dick, and he was sitting behind me. And
Oh,
I turned around and said, "Oh, excuse me, Mr. Stewart, sorry for interrupting you, but I just want to say I'm a great fan." And he said, "Oh, so you're a Star Trek fan?" I said, "No, no, no. In actual fact, I saw a 1970s video of a stage production of you in The Tempest,
wow.
and that's when I fell in love with you." And he, "Oh my God, so you know, it's not just Star Trek." So yeah, he would be an idol, absolutely.
Amazing. Good. Next question for you is, if you were to raise a child, what are the most important things would you like them to learn?
Empathy
Hmm.
is the big one. Empathy, kindness, and imagination.
Interesting. Wow.
Learn how to be bored. I, Another article I read the other day was my generation's problem was what to do when you're bored. This generation, the younger generation now, is they don't have time to be bored, and that hunger to do nothing. And so when that comes along, boredom is very surprising to them, and they don't really know how to deal with it. I mean, when I was a child, if I ever said I was bored, my mother said, "Well, okay, go chop wood or weed the garden." So you never got bored. You always entertained yourself, and so yeah. So
You,
imagine it.
you just made me remember now another Australia on the show, but actually he's a comedian, but he lives in London, and he said that he was back in Australia and he was with his grandmother. His grandmother was driving and he was in the back seat, and his grandma and he was like moaning, I'm so bored, I'm so bored. And his grandmother said, just boring people get bored.
Yeah,
I loved
it's
it. I was like, oh,
true. It's
that's
very true.
amazing.
I don't I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand how people can be bored. Um, I mean, there's just so much fantastic stuff, Even
Yeah.
just sitting by yourself and having time to think is
Hmm.
a glorious, glorious thing. And we have so many options now to entertain ourselves, and also that. Uh, Sorry, the Muslim prayer has just started. That's the
I cannot
noise.
hear.
Oh, okay. We have it 5 times a day. Um, what was I saying? Yeah. The thing of needing to be entertained, I find it a bit of a problem. I don't think we need to be stimulated all the time. I think, when people talk about meditation, it's about not being stimulated,
It's
and
true.
it's a beautiful state to be in of just being at peace and watching the clouds in your brain fly by.
And I think nowadays more than ever, because we are so busy with our own lives, we get ourselves, sometimes we overload our thoughts, our way. And sometimes when you put yourself in a state of mind where you're not bored, but you are kind of relaxed, your meditation, as
Mm.
you said, I think it's a powerful place to be as well. Not,
Uh,
you know what I mean? Because nowadays, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter, nowadays I realize that people, they are more and more busy. We are also overload ourselves with things to do,
yeah,
which is great. Don't take me wrong. I think it's good to be busy. It's good to have, you
yeah,
know, something always happening. You stimulate yourself to be more creative and do things. However, we need to understand that sometimes you need just to turn around and, you know what, let me do nothing.
yeah. When I talk to a lot of writers, obviously, and especially younger writers who say, I can't find any inspiration, and I just say, well, do nothing,
Yeah, yeah,
because by doing that's when inspiration comes. I mean,
that's true.
you can't find inspiration. Inspiration finds you.
Yeah, good one.
And but you need to give it room to find you. And if we're constantly looking, and keeping busy, busy, busy all the time, There's no room for inspiration. And I'm not just talking about artists, but as a human
Could be
being.
anything. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 questions left. Let's do it.
Hey.
Before the next one, tell me so far what India has taught you.
Sorry?
What India has taught you so far.
India. Excuse me. It's taught me. It's related to what I was saying before about the enormity of population, and that I'm one amongst 27 million, and it's that, and it's also attached to resilience as well, and it's taught me that we all matter. Even if you're surrounded by 27 million people, all 27 million of those people matter. And it's very Australian of me, but when I go for a walk down the street, I say good morning or good afternoon to everyone, and not a lot of people in India do that eye contact communication, because it's so crowded. It's not from rudeness, it's just so crowded. But you also see the appreciation in people's eyes when you make eye contact, because you're recognizing them, that they exist. And I really like that, and that's been a really nice reminder as well, you know, that yeah, it's a big planet with lots of people on it, and we're all individuals with all our own thoughts, and all of our thoughts matter. Everyone's thoughts matter, even if you're whatever you are in your station in life, your thoughts matter, and what we do with our thoughts matter. It's our actions much more than our thoughts that really affect people around us, and to be empathetic. Yeah. So it's not so much it's been a lesson, but it's supported my original notions of empathy and existing as an individual.
Amazing. Good. Next question is, do you have a unique ability that you think no one has or you never met before?
An ability?
A unique ability that you think nobody has or you never met.
Unique. That I'm a 27-year-old trapped in a 60-year-old's body.
Great
That's
answer.
Probably it. Yeah. I think that's it.
Amazing. Ready for the last one?
Yes, I am.
Let's do it. Last question. But before the last question, Glenn, tell me through your career, those 40 years that you've been, enjoying this beautiful journey that has been an artist, if you could pick just one moment in your career that for you, for any reason, you're always gonna remember, or always gonna have a special place in your heart, or brought you something, I don't know. Tell me a moment in your career that you're always gonna remember, comes naturally to your mind.
Gosh, there's a couple that come to mind. My first ever opening night as a professional actor, and it was with the National Theatre Company at the Playhouse Theatre, which was sort of one of the main theatres in Perth. And I can remember just standing in the wings before the curtain going up, and it kind of hit me that, oh, I'm here. This is it. And just recognizing that I was a professional actor, and that was really, really awesomely special. My mother actually still has a photocopy of my first ever paycheck as a professional actor.
Oh,
that's really lovely.
That's so nice. Oh my God.
And the other major one was, as I mentioned before, my first day of rehearsal as a director. It carried with it none of the usual anxieties of when I was an actor, and none of the same fears or worries or concerns. And I felt very, very centered and solid and real. I felt like I was meant to be there, and I was surprised how calm I was, considering a director's job is to mother, father, uncle, auntie, the whole production. And I embraced that responsibility very, very much, and was very, very comfortable with it. And it was the day I discovered how much I love nurturing other actors.
Amazing. Last question is, which season of the year you feel more connected with, and why?
Okay, so in India, it would be around December, which is their winter, because
Mhm.
it's there's no rain. It's usually very blue skies. It's the coolest time of the year, around December, so that's really lovely. But in Australia, I love spring and autumn, the in between seasons. I love both spring and autumn. I find really very beautiful. Where it's where Mother Nature is, showing off at her grandest, I think. And if we take the time, then it reminds us, about the cycle of life, and that there is rebirth and there is death, and that we are part of nature. We're not the boss of nature. And
Amazing.
I think humanity is just coming back to realizing that we are actually part of nature and not the boss of it.
Amazing. Very good.
Mm.
It's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. Okay, I'm going to
Oh,
give away some words. Just tell me one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking.
okay.
Okay, let's start with fear.
Home came to mind. I don't know why. That's really interesting. Fear
Money,
of home. Money, or need.
life,
Fun.
sex,
Fun.
love,
Hard work.
family,
Hard work.
religion,
Unnecessary.
politics,
Necessary.
friendship,
Life.
desire,
No, hang on. The first thing, oh gosh, desire, everything.
okay, regrets,
Few.
success,
I have.
wish,
Not many.
happiness.
Now.
One word for Perth.
Perth.
Yeah.
Home.
One word for Australia.
Big.
One word for India.
Home.
One word for acting.
Peace.
And the last one now, artist. One word.
Adventure.
If I would meet your lovely partner right now for a coffee, and I'm gonna ask him, tell me the most beautiful thing about Glenn. Tell me something unique, something beautiful when you look at him, what he would say.
Oh gosh, it's a very funny question at this point in time because we're having a bit of a about several things. So he'd probably say he's a.
So let's
Sorry, can you bleep?
I'll be boo. But let's see. Okay, so let's see. I met him before, the fight
No,
started.
seriously. Yeah, in good day. No, I'm joking. Look, I think he would say that I'm very unique, for obvious reasons because I'm Australian, he's Indian, but also unique in that I am 60 and still in this career, and I do know that he appreciates and admires my views on what success means. And I think he would say we're pretty chilled.
How is being gay in Mumbai, in your opinion, Glenn? How do you feel about being gay there?
Look, as a foreigner, I feel fine, and especially because I'm an older guy, I don't need to. I'm not that worried about all that kind of. It's been really fabulous, being here with the whole turnover of Section 377, which was the decriminalisation of homosexuality. So I've now been in two countries where it's been decriminalised, one being Australia, my home, and one being India, my home. So it's look, it's really interesting, because I talk to a lot of young gay guys here who say, "Oh yeah, but you're from Australia, you've had it so easy," and I say, "No. It wasn't until mid-80s where it was completely decriminalised. When I was a young gay man, I was a criminal. I've hidden under cars from cops in Perth. You
Wow.
know, so it's so there is familiarity and a similarity as well. But the main difference here is that the family politic is so much greater here, where this idea of bringing shame to the family, etc., which does exist everywhere in the
Mhm.
world, but here it's really, really prevalent. So it's the the interesting thing for me is to try to support these young guys who are really fearful for their lives, and from being kicked out of families and all that kind of stuff, which again happens everywhere in the world. It's nothing different happening here, but it's on such a grand scale. So it's very, very interesting. But I mean, it's kind of still in the honeymoon period at the moment, where a lot of gay guys are feeling very, very comfortable, and women, sorry, are feeling very comfortable about their sexuality, and the pride marches are getting bigger, and the rainbow t-shirts are popping up everywhere, and yeah, it's quite joyous. But as an older guy, as an older foreigner, it's very chill for me. Like most matured you know people of any type, you don't run around saying I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay.
Yeah.
If somebody asks me, I never deny my sexuality. But it's no one's business, unless they're interested in who I am. Yeah.
Amazing. Let's play now, Glenn, and the magic box, and you can ask me a question. Right, you can ask me a question now, Glenn.
What as a child, were you as inquisitive as you are now?
Good question. What a great question.
Oh, good.
I love the question. Over 1,200 people, nobody asked me this question. Wow,
Ah,
great, great, great. You know what? Back to my childhood now, Glenn. I can tell you, I come from Brazil, and I come from a very small town where being gay was something that just happened to the neighbor, never happened to your family, never happened, always happened in the other households. Something that people never talked about. Not just that, but overall, I've been very fortunate because my family, my parents, they never had like college stud degrees or anything. However, they were great parents. When I look back, my God, they let me be free. I never had a situation growing up where my parents said, you need to go to the church, you need to do this, you need to do that. They let me free. I remember growing up, my mom, she thought I'd be a priest because I was going to church every Sunday, like because I liked it, I loved it.
yeah.
And again, I think when I look back, just because I liked it, I mean, being a priest is like a performer, you know what I mean? You are a performer, people they are performing that. I think that's why I was so connected with the church growing up.
Mm.
I can tell I was very inclusive. I can relate to my young self at the time because I was free. I didn't have much information about my sexuality. I didn't have much information about things, about sex. I never, my parents never sat down to me to talk about things that for me, I wasn't clear. I didn't know how to deal with. However, it never been something that put me down, never been something that
Mhm.
made me sad. I was a free spirit. I remember when I was bullied at school, I never felt sad. I never came back home crying. I never put myself down.
Mm.
I always was interacting with other people at the same time. When I felt a bit like I felt a bit ashamed when they were calling me names or something. However, I remember I was going to another group. I was always running
Yeah.
away somehow. But I remember never coming home crying because someone said something bad to me. I never had a situation. So I think my parents somehow they showed me that I could be myself somehow. Me and my sister, we could be ourselves. And I think when I look
Yeah.
back, I think I was very fortunate that I could express the way I was. And I never had, even though I didn't have knowledge or information or my parents support me, on this field. However, my parents always let me be myself. So
That's really interesting too, isn't it? Because I think, if we tell a child to be free and be yourself, it actually does make them inquisitive then.
that's true.
It makes
Yeah,
them want to, find out what other people are on about, what other people are doing, and all that. If we've
totally.
got all these rules around us and we're too restricted, then we
Yeah,
we automatically go, okay, I'm not allowed to look, I'm not allowed to see, I'm not allowed to experience.
absolutely.
So that
If
One of the best lessons my mother ever said to me when I was young was we should get rid of the word should.
Right.
And if you replace the SH with a C, then it's good.
Amazing.
You don't have
Yes.
to- Yeah.
It's interesting. I remember you just made me remember a situation with my mom. I remember, growing up where I come from, the closest seaside, is 2 hours by plane. So imagine how far it was. So
By
it was very
plane. Oh my
by
God.
plane, yeah, so very
Yeah.
far away. And during that time in the 80s, for you to go to the beach, it was just the rich people, just people who could afford at the time. And I remember, like, I had these neighbors, they were quite they were rich, they had more money that we had. And I remember they were going to the beach every summer holidays. And I remember one day I came to my mom and said, Mom, I would love to go to the beach. And she looked at me and she just said, my son, I got goosebumps now, my God. She said to me, my son, don't worry, one day you're gonna go to the beach, one day you're gonna see. I think somehow she knew that I was, one day I would go I would go off my dreams. She said, don't worry, not now, you cannot go now, but trust me, one day you will. I remember that day. And again, what I did, I just, fun, and I just went, I carry on playing with my, my day. That's the thing when I told you about being free. I could go like morning, I could go like, oh, I wasn't asking questions. I just was, I trust her. I said, okay, one day you go to the beach, one day you're going to do that. I trust her and I carry on with my life. So that's when I look back, that's how my parents, they were very right the way they raised. They never lied. They always been very, straightforward and explain somehow in their own ways. Yeah, they were explaining. And when I look back, I think I'm so grateful for my childhood. It wasn't easy, of course. I'm saying that, but it wasn't easy, But however, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing because
and that's where the wealth is that knowledge and experience that we get from an elder. I mean, because what your mum was basically saying about the beach was, if you want it bad enough, it probably will happen later. It's not going to happen now, but if you want it bad enough. I remember when I was about 9, I said to my mum, Mum, can I have pocket money now? And she said, get a job. And I did. So I got a job. And she said, look, now that, because I think it was like $5 for working all day Saturday. And she said, that $5 is yours. You do what you want with it. You don't even have to tell us what you're doing with it. It's yours because you earned it. So I worked from 9 years old.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds like your mum and my mum would get on well.
Absolutely. She just turned 60, actually. I was in Brazil now. I was in Brazil for her 60th.
I'm the same age as your mother. Oh, my God.
Okay.
Yeah. It always surprises me. Now, this is why, because I think I'm a 27-year-old in my head. It always surprises me.
There you go. You're not 60. You are, my mom is older than you, for sure. Did you enjoy the interview, Glenn?
I loved it. That was really, really pleasant. Really lovely, William. That was fantastic. I love what you're doing.
Thanks so much.
I really like the fact that you're connecting with so many different people around the world and allowing them to answer to answer questions that don't know. I mean, I do quite a few interviews, and it's usually the same things that get asked. But yeah, it's great. It's fantastic what you're doing, and I enjoy watching your other YouTubes very much.
Thanks so much. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for being so kind and sweet and accepting the invitation. But before you go, if you can share a positive message or anything that you live by.
Oh gosh, there's so many wonderful, wonderful positive things out there to say. I just think take the time to look at who's walking next to you.
Good one. I like that, actually.
Yeah, I think that's a big one for me today. Just take the time to see who's around you.
Wow. Oh my God, you just put this in my head now. I'm gonna walk down the street, like, just look.
Yeah, well, it's amazing what you notice. It's incredible.
That's amazing. I like that.
Yeah. It's great.
Thanks so much, Glenn. Thanks regards to your partner, to your family, to your lovely mom, and we keep in touch, okay? It was a pleasure.
Absolutely, William.
Take care. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, William. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why would you like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye-bye. See you next time.